Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Council Sessions. Dave Cottingham here with Martin Donison, Cyber Ren.
Hello, everybody.
How are you, sir?
I am doing great. How are you doing?
Doing good. We are on the eve of the Bad Batch returning.
Is it coming out at midnight tonight or tomorrow night? Like, we haven't figured that out yet.
No, they haven't. I figured Star Wars would say something like that, but they didn't. I think that I feel like it's going to come out in the middle of the night like it has before, unlike Ahsoka, but I liked it coming out at Wednesday nights. You know,
right.
I know that's coming out at 9 o'clock. I can sit down, start watching it. So I hope it does, but I'll be watching it first thing in the morning if it's out. So
yeah,
we'll see.
There should be like a ticker or something, but there just isn't.
That's true. That's true. It probably should be.
Yeah.
Well, on this episode of Council Sessions, I wanted to bring Martin on here and talk about something that was brought up on our recent commentary. So if anybody out there wants to check that out on our YouTube channel, we've got a brand new commentary that we're kicking off all of 2024. Mm-hmm. We're doing a movie a month, and we're going in chronological order. So naturally, we started with episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And it was the first commentary that we've done in, I think the last one we did was leading up to episode 8, which was 2017. So it's been just over 5 years.
Yeah.
Actually, just over 6 years. Wow. That is crazy. to think episode 8's been out that long already. So here we are. And while we were talking, as in not me and you, but me and Hannah, while Hannah and I were doing the commentary, we got to the point where the droids in the Trade Federation were invading Naboo. Mm-hmm. And we got to talking about Natalie Portman and playing Queen Amidala and the handmaidens. You know, Keira Knightley was Sabe. And you even had Rose Byrne. She was actually one of the handmaidens. So you had this great cast, and I started thinking, I told Hannah, I was like, wow, if you really think about it, I mean, Natalie Portman, Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson, Samuel Jackson. I mean, you don't even have Hayden Christensen in there yet. It's like, what an incredible cast that George put together then. You know, looking back now, 25 years later, what these actors have become, right?
Right.
So we just got to talking about that part of it, how great this cast was, how much talent almost that you can give to George about finding that talent, right? Now, granted, Ewan McGregor wasn't huge, but he had done some stuff. Natalie was pretty big. She had just done The Professional, and she was in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Ewan was known for Train Spotting at that time.
Train Spotting, exactly. Yep. So I wanted to expand on that a little bit with you and start talking about comparing or contrasting the actual trilogies, the 3 trilogies, the prequels, the originals, and the sequels. Which one do you feel like has the best cast? So, and I don't know, you know, I guess maybe starting out, Cyber, we should maybe just discuss, me and you maybe talk about our criteria. Like, how are you deciding the best cast? Or are you looking at it as your favorite cast? Or are you looking at the talent that's in that cast?
Well, I have a 3-headed answer for you. This is why I ask you to tell me the topic we're talking about before I come on, because it allows me to think and process, right? Yeah. So I have a 3-headed or 3-pronged answer. I'll give that to you now, and then we can dive into it and you can ask more specific questions. So which trilogy has the best cast? They each win in certain categories depending on how I look at it. So if you're talking about favorite, nostalgia, memorable, endearing to my heart, the original cast, hands down, no matter what, original trilogy. If you're talking about star power, known celebrities, well-known actors that have already put a name out there for themselves, getting to become part of Star Wars, the prequel trilogy, by far. There's no more star power than you get in the prequels. Now, if you want to talk, and this might be the controversial answer, but if you want to talk about acting ability, where I think the performance was the best, where they put everything into it, they gave me full range of emotions. They gave like just pure acting chops, delivering their lines, playing the action scenes. That's where I think the sequel trilogy wins out. Wow. I think the acting is even superior to the prequels with the star power. I think a lot of the acting in the prequel trilogy was pretty stiff in comparison. I think the sequels, especially Daisy Ridley as Rey, I think just gave it her everything she had. And I think by far the sequel trilogy has the best performance. There you go.
Okay. So you've given each cast. So basically you chose three. You almost had three different categories, and you gave each cast the tops of each of those categories. Okay. But I guess. Okay, so that's a good way. That's a good way to start. So let's do that. I'll do the same.
Okay.
I think. What was the first one with the original trilogy?
What's the most endearing to your heart? Which is the most memorable? Which is the most nostalgic? What makes you feel the most?
Yeah.
Original cast.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a no-brainer just because they're the oldest.
Yeah.
And Carrie and Harrison and Mark. I mean, you just can't. It's
hard to beat.
Special, yeah, that's special.
Yeah,
and I mean, I'm probably going to agree with you on all three aspects, to be honest, because the prequel trilogy, even though then it may not have been the biggest star power, it's definitely risen to that. Because I mean, not only went on to win an Academy Award, Samuel Jackson has gone to do everything. He's the highest grossing movie star in the history of Hollywood. Ewan McGregor is just fantastic. He can do whatever role you put him in. Hayden now has become, a second coming of Hayden Christensen. He's going to be in all kinds of stuff now. I guarantee it. He's going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
And then you can't forget Liam Neeson he was probably the biggest star going into episode 1.
He was well established already, huh?
Well established.
Yeah.
But then you get into Tamar Morrison, who has done a lot since. Yeah. Right? If you go on in the trilogy, Ian McDermott was massive, even though he may not have been massive in the States, but he's a big time European actor.
Totally.
So man, you do have huge star power. And, some would argue, I guess, like you said, that the prequels were hindered on the scripts and the actors didn't have a lot of range.
Right.
Which the sequel trilogy, those actors probably did. You had arguably better directors with JJ and with Ryan. A lot more freedom to... But you also had talent. Like John Boyega is one of the best talented actors out there. Oscar Isaac, you can kind of say the same thing. Daisy, who's a newcomer, but man, she's fantastic, like you said.
Yeah.
And then Adam Driver, geez, I mean, huge star.
Thanks. You just keep proving my point, so it's good.
I know, and. Yeah. I think that's probably where we're at. I will tell you, I do think that when the trilogies were made, so like episode 1, 2, and 3, when those were made, and when the sequels were made, I could probably make the case that the sequel actors were bigger stars. I feel like when they did the movies versus when the prequels did them. Right? I think. The star powers were very reflective, but John Boyega was Daisy was the exception, but Adam Driver, Oscar Isaacs, John Boyega, I think those were big gets. And then of course you had Andy Serkis, come in to play Snoke.
Yeah.
Who was a massive star already. No one really knew who he was as far as his face goes, but everybody knew who Andy Serkis was.
Yeah. Interesting that you say that, because I didn't know Oscar Isaacs. I didn't know John Boyega. I didn't know it. Like, they were all virtually new to me. Whereas prequels, I knew, I knew Samuel Jackson, of course, and I knew all of the actors from previous projects. Whereas sequels, brand new. I'm like, who are all these people? Cool, new cast, love it.
Oh wow! See, yeah. I kind of knew a little. Just like I feel like I watched actually more stuff back then. I feel like I was watching almost every movie when it was coming out.
Yeah.
And a lot of TV. Now I'm not as much, but I had known about John Boyega and Oscar Isaacs, especially Adam Driver. Definitely knew about Adam Driver, Andy Serkis, obviously.
For sure, yeah.
What's his name? Gleason, the Gleason boy that plays Hux. Like he was in
too. Yeah.
He was in the Harry Potter stuff, so and then of course I'm trying to, obviously Leia and Han and those guys were in it also, right? So
yeah, and when you're talking about, like, I'm thinking the main cast. I mean, if we include Leia, Han, and Luke in the sequel trilogy, by then their star power is unmatchable. So that to me was a little bit unfair.
True, that's very true, very true.
But
okay, so that's out of the way as far as those different things. So what else? I mean, taking those three aspects though, if we're talking just overall, when you're talking about talent, when you talk about the quality, and you almost have to see the quality of the films, right? Because the actors make the movies better.
Yep.
Taking in consideration the dialogue they had to do and the acting they had to do, how much you enjoyed the performances,
right.
What is there any one of those three that starts, if you stack them all together, which one starts becoming closer to the top for you?
It's really hard to pull away from the originals because of how, and I wonder if time is it, because we've had so much time with them, but I just feel like Luke, Han, and Leia, and Chewie, and R2 and C-3PO, I mean, I feel like, and maybe it's because of the age we were at, growing up with it, it just attached to you. Like, those are iconic moments attached to my life growing up, where I don't feel the same with the prequels. The prequels, I went into it knowing everything already, and we're just getting a story that hasn't been told yet, and we know all the characters, we know all the actors, and there's not an attachment to the cast in the prequels like there is to the original trilogy. Like, if I have to order the trilogy, like, I think the prequels are my least favorite of the three overall, if I really, really thought of it, if we really got into the weeds, which maybe... Because there's so much about the sequels that I enjoyed. I know the sequels are getting trashed by a lot of the fans. Like, there's a lot of people that just forget it. We should remake it and redo the new trilogy. But there's a lot about it that I like, and it comes down to the actors, because I love Oscar and John and Rey as the new threesome of this. I love them so much and their performance, and I feel a little bit more attached to them and my emotional connection to them than I do to the prequels. And but man, if you really, like, are you asking me to try to narrow it down and just pick one top cast overall?
Yes.
Then it's going to be the originals. You just can't. You can't beat it, because even though I don't give them the nod for being the best actors, they still did such a good performance that we're emotionally connected to them. Like, I mean, Carrie Fisher was just amazing as Princess Leia. She brought one of our first true strong women on screen of that time period of the 70s. Like, just a really strong character that can stand up to the man and boss him around and push, like, and shoot a laser pistol. Like, she was great. I mean, Harrison Ford had a little bit of establishment then. I mean, he came fresh off of American Graffiti and whatever. So it's not like the acting was bad, because if the acting was really bad, a movie in the 70s would have got I mean, you watch it today and you still don't go, wow, man, this sucks. It's so hard to watch. We don't. We love it. We still love it, and nothing changes for us.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the prequels suffers from, whether you want to say it's the script writing or the directing or whatnot, like the actors didn't have a lot to work with. The acting was still pretty stiff in a lot of ways. And it's just, it's endearing to us still because we got to see the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker, but it's just, they just don't have the depth of range in the performances.
Well, let's go there first before I answer.
Okay.
Let's just talk about narrowing down just the three.
Okay.
So Harrison, Carrie, and Mark, one group.
One group.
Ewan, Natalie, and Hayden, the other group.
Okay. Hayden.
And you got Ray, John, and Oscar.
Yeah.
You still going original trilogy there?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm probably going original trilogy as well.
Yeah.
Because I mean not only because yes, they're near and dear to my heart, and out of all nine I just named, I mean obviously we lost one already, right? Carrie passed, so there's that nostalgia there, there's that heartbreak, that emotion you feel there. And like you said, the impact that I feel like Carrie had on the world back then, and the character of Leia. I mean, if you talk about, again, characters, not just the actors, but the characters they played too, it's extremely important and extremely solid to the foundation of Star Wars. So
very true.
Now, since we broke it off, now let's do a little bit of the extension.
Okay.
Right? So in the original trilogy, you already mentioned Anthony Daniels and
Kenny Baker,
and Peter Mayhew, but
yeah,
you had Peter Cushing, and you had Alec Guinness.
Yes.
Of course, David Prowse, and then James Earl Jones, who voiced Vader. So that's pretty good. And then you got the prequels. Sam Jackson and Tamara Morrison, Ian McDermott. Ray Park as Darth Maul, and then of course Christopher Lee as Count Dooku. I mean, massive actor.
He's the standout, I would say, out of that group.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
So you've got some great talent there, and then you go sequel trilogy with Adam Driver, Andy Serkis.
Right.
Who else am I? I mean, eventually you got I can't remember his first name, Grant. He was a big time actor that ended up in episode 9. But Ian McDermott returning, right? And then, like you said, you even do, if you don't want to include it, you can't, but you got Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, so.
Which I think, if you include it, then the sequels knock it out of the park. I don't think you can compare. You got a fantastic new cast, and you're including the original cast to beef them up. The sequels win out.
And they're not in all the movies either, right? So I think it's, well, I guess kind of they are, but they're not the focus, right?
They're not the focus. They're the supporting cast.
Supporting cast. So if you're talking about the main heroes and the main villains.
Yeah.
So original trilogy still?
It really has to be. Like, I'm wondering if this is kind of a washout answer, because even though Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, Peter Mayhew, all these people, they're all in costumes. It's the delivery of their lines. I mean, we fell in love with R2 and C-3PO because they are such an iconic duo. The humor and the humor that they delivered, and the sense of love that we feel for those two being essentially robots of the day, right? They're droids. It's the voice actor's performance coming through. You have to give it to them. And like you said, Darth Vader, I mean, without James Earl Jones, Darth Vader would not be one of the probably the top 2 best villains in movie cinematic history.
Right.
It's because of James Earl Jones delivering those lines. So I think the original trilogy had probably all around. It's because when you even just compare these supporting characters, if it wasn't for Chewbacca and Han Solo running around on screen, like, man, if Han Solo was by himself and didn't have this 8-foot tall furry creature there just wouldn't be the same type of magic to it. So
yeah.
The supporting characters were fantastic too. Like,
yeah,
George nailed it on this first trilogy. He nailed everything.
He did.
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say, and I feel like if you want to compare the supporting cast, as much as we loved BB-8 and all these other characters, and in the prequels, we loved, some of the ones you mentioned, they're all still trying to just recreate the magic of the originals. Oh, R2 was so popular. Okay, well, let's make a new droid. Here's BB-8. He rolls instead of walks around. Okay, but they're just trying to take the original magic and add their own, touches to it and create something. But again, it's still like, well, no, we've already got these characters.
Right.
So
I'm actually probably going to, as far as full cast and extended cast,
yeah,
I'm actually going prequels.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, the core 3 from the originals, hands down, no comparison.
Right.
I think though the extended cast, when you add in guys like Sam Jackson, Liam Neeson, Ian McDermott, Christopher Lee, when you bring him in episode 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, even the guy that played General Grievous, like you said, he's not in there, but man, I mean, the acting alone with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sam, Ray Park with Maul.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that, and then of course, what they became, Natalie Portman and Hayden and Ewan, Sam Jackson, Frank Oz was still there with Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had, I don't know, that's incredible. What, and finally, I feel like 25 years later, that recognition is being finally given to that cast. There's so many of our generation that tore them down when it came out because they didn't like the movies themselves and what George was doing. But you had kids that loved it, and now they're older and they love the prequels.
It's the same. We've talked about it so many times on this show. It's the same. Whatever generation you grew up with is the one that's gonna be
correct.
Near and dear to your heart. Like, how about all the kids that went to the theaters to watch the sequels for the first time? That's their first Star Wars experience.
That's right.
BB-8 is their
kids.
everything.
Yeah, that's my kids.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think the sequels. Yeah, I think the sequels suffered. I mean, we talked about it many times. So I think it just suffered from being fully unprepared. They weren't prepared for the entire storyline and how it was going to lay out.
Yeah, they did one movie at a time, and they let a different person be in charge each time instead of having one overall person laying the groundwork. Plus, I think having different directors control it without being linked to the other directors to make sure they're all working on the same story. Mm-hmm. And in all honesty, you've got to look at the timing of the world too. Like, the sequels came out in a world where it's completely controlled by social media and all that kind of stuff, that where the other movies did not have that type. So upon release, there's instant backlash or gratification or whatever, and the internet, so many people live their lives by what's said on the internet. Mm-hmm. And it just didn't help. It did not help the sequels. Like, put the sequels out in 1982 and 1983. Different story.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's true. That's true.
But yeah.
Okay, so I think that's a good little discussion about that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, can we get any deeper? We usually go deep on these things. So what could we add to this?
I don't try to make these 3 hours podcasts like yours.
But for us, 20 minutes is pretty short, even on here. So
I don't know how much more we can go, because I think I did want to make sure we highlighted the core cast, and then of course the extended cast, which leads into, because not all cast members are in all three movies of their trilogy. Like I said, Christopher Lee comes in later.
Well, Hayden comes in. He's only
Hayden comes in later. Yeah, exactly. You know, people forget too. Lupita, I can't remember pronounce her last name really. Yolanga, who played Maz Kanata. She was in Black Panther as well.
Okay, yeah.
Like she's big time star.
Right.
Lupita Nyong'o, I think is what her name is. But
yeah.
So, like you said, playing CG characters, you never see them, but man, they're great.
Well, even the original trilogy, Yoda's only there for 2 of them, and he's one of the greatest characters of all time.
That's right. Right.
And he's a puppet.
I mean, Peter Cushing was only in 1, but he was fantastic.
Yeah.
Alec Guinness popped in a little bit here and there, but those 2 were massive stars then when Star Wars came out.
Another one. I mean, we can't not mention Boba Fett. Look at the notoriety he gained, and from only speaking, what do you have, 6 lines in the entire trilogy? Originally,
it was Jeremy Bulloch that played him, but no one knew that really.
The iconicness of that character based mostly on his uniform because of how cool he looked and how cool he sounded. Yes. Again, Star Wars, they tried to recreate, what are we going to do for the prequels? Well, let's do Jango Fett. Cool, but didn't come off as well. And what did we do? What did we get in the sequels? Did we get a character that matched anything like a Boba Fett in the sequels? Who would you throw up there as someone that's supposed to be the Boba Fett type character? I don't know if we have one.
I think they tried with Phasma, but it didn't work.
Maybe, yeah. But they didn't utilize her at all.
Yeah, exactly. And she was a big star too.
Yeah. Coming off of Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, she didn't really do much. But to me, that was kind of because they didn't really do bounty hunters at all. And, they had, what's his name? Benicio del Toro show up, and but he didn't really do anything.
But even it doesn't even have to be bounty hunter. Just be what character, as soon as they came on the screen, everyone went, whoa, who's that?
Yeah, I'm thinking of a outside character. That's what Boba, kind of that neutral character. Benicio maybe was possibly that cool character they wanted to do, but he wasn't really that cool.
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't really have anybody.
Episode 9, they didn't really have introduced too many. And they brought, what's her name, Carrie Russell in to play, starts with a Z. I can't remember.
But she played Poe's long lost love interest from.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And she was cool, but again, we didn't get a chance to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she probably would have been.
What Star Wars does do good is keep recreating new droids for us and fun little cute characters. We went from Yoda to what do we get in the sequels? What's the little guy? The little guy that was fixed C-3PO.
Babu Frick.
Yeah. Babu Frick. I mean, great creation there.
Yep. You had the Knights of Ren that they were trying to make cool, but they didn't put them on screen enough either.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, granted, Boba Fett wasn't on screen either, but he was too new, right? There's nothing like him.
Yeah.
Now, if Mandalorian shows up now, no one's that excited.
Yeah.
But Knights of Ren was that a little bit when you see him in the Force Awakens. You're like, dang, who are these guys?
Yeah, you got excited,
and then you don't see nothing of them until Episode 9, and you still don't even get much of them.
Again, that's because the director's not communicating. They're not forced to be on the same story, the same schedule, the same. Let's make a trilogy, not individual movies, and group them together, which is kind of what happened.
Yeah,
but so in that sense, I can agree with you for. The prequels just having a little bit more or a lot more cohesiveness.
Yeah.
And giving you that overarching story arc between all 3 movies that really grew to an epic conclusion. Because, the episode 3 was freaking fantastic. It's top 5 for sure. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And you had, even though they weren't big stars, but kind of like you said, that we got a lot of Jedi back then, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of just different unique characters of Jedi, like Kit Fisto and Plo Koon, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Depa Billaba, and you just had all these different species of Jedi, and so again, I couldn't name you the guys that played them that much. There might be some people out there that can do that, but they're not really massive stars or anything. So
I think the prequels would do greatly. I think they would their not their popularity, but their quality would increase greatly if we somehow got 3.5 hour extended editions where they got to fully develop a lot more of these people and characters that are within them.
I agree with that.
Because a lot of it did fly because they had to do such a big time jump from young Anakin to Hayden's version, and they did such big time jumps that it missed a lot.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah, agreed.
So original trilogy, I think, for me overall.
Yeah,
original cast. We should call it cast. You're asking me with the cast, so original cast. I think still for me, performance-wise, the sequel cast just they emotionally connected to me more so than the prequel trilogy. Cast it. Probably based on everything that we talked about. So I would go original, sequels, prequels for me. If we're talking, the original question was what cast is the best, that's my order.
Original, yeah. Mine's probably overall cast. Yes, I think mine's prequels, originals, sequels.
Okay.
Overall, I think.
Okay. So there's a bit of difference then.
A little bit of difference. It's close though. I mean, it's like 1 and 1A. It's not like it's very far off.
Well, and you brought it up too. The reason the sequels gets ahead of the prequels for me is because the original cast was also in it. It connected that nostalgia. It brought it. I mean, the first time Han and Chewie walk on screen in Force Awakens, your heart melts. You can't not. When Han says, "Chewie, we're home," man, we're all puddles of mush in the theater seats. Come on.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So. Yeah.
But original trilogy, you can't not mention like Billy D. Williams either.
Yeah, why didn't we bring his name up? Billy D. Come on.
And Wedge Antilles,
yeah.
I can't believe I forgot his name. Dennis Lawson.
Dennis Lawson, yeah.
Wedge.
Yeah.
So
Jabba the Hutt, like all these characters.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean,
A lot of them came in, and Empire introduced a lot of fun stuff.
Yes.
But I mean, we got Lando, we got Jabba, we got,
even the guys that played the Imperial officers, like Admiral Piet and the guy from you had gosh, the guy that General Veers, that was on Empire Strikes Back. He was in Last Crusade, Indiana Jones' Last Crusade. I mean,
right.
You had guys like that were kind of side characters that you recognize. There were a lot of good actors in that on the Imperial side.
Yep.
So that's interesting. That's funny. So again, big strong cast that George did originally. He did. That was pretty impressive.
He had a vision and he brought it to life.
He did. He did.
The prequels, I think what bugs me with George in the prequels is he was just so enamored by CGI. He got overwhelmed by wanting to use CGI for everything, and that's where I think the big difference was. It lost a lot of that organic feel that this is alive. This is a universe that is alive and living, and I can believe it. I think the prequels lost that bit of magic.
Yeah.
Just because of the CGI. But
CGI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, we love Obi-Wan and Anakin. I mean, that story, I think where I'm connected, if the prequels didn't get the Clone Wars, 7 seasons of Clone Wars, the prequels might mean a little bit less to me. But because you intersperse the Clone Wars with that, that's one of the greatest friendships, brotherhoods of all time. Is those two.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, which obviously translated into Obi-Wan's own series and brought them back together, and that was incredible to see as well. So yeah, it's strong.
It is. No matter what, we love it all.
We love it all. Yeah, no matter what we're ranking, it's like, because again, you can't, the sequel trilogy, just because they're last on my list doesn't mean they're not good. I mean, it's still incredible. Yeah. Incredible actors that, and like the prequels, I think eventually they will get better in time. I think a lot of people will come and appreciate what there was, and hopefully that's the case too when Rey's movie, this new Jedi Order movie comes out.
Yes, I hope so.
I mean, I think a lot of people may say this should have been Episode 7 or something,
But
with Luke,
kind of like what you're saying. All these years later, Hayden is getting redemption finally, and the prequels are good. I hope the same thing for Daisy Ridley and the cast of the sequels. I hope they find some redemption to. It's not like they weren't successful, but I want them to find redemption to the flack that they received when those movies came out. I want them to find some of that redemption too, and then because they're not going away, despite whatever you wanna fight for. They're not going away. They're not going to be rewritten and refilmed and trashed by Disney. They're not. It's part of the story. It's the 9 movie event.
That's right.
Yeah,
that is right.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're cutting this off because you got to get some sleep.
It's been a rough. We had a long weekend up here in Canada.
And I got some stuff to get done before I get ready. We get ready for the Bad Batch.
Oh my gosh, Bad Batch season 3, final season.
3 episodes premiering tomorrow or today. I'm putting this out there today. So today it's out there. Go see it. Unless it's out tonight, but
it's a big TV week, man. We got Bad Batch season 3. We got The Rookie for me. The Rookie season 5 or season 6 is premiering tonight. Quantum Leap 2-hour finale tonight.
Oh, the second season's finale?
Yeah, 2-hour finale too. Like they're going big.
I'm way behind on that. I gotta catch up. I didn't even finish Did I finish? I don't even know if I finished the first season.
Man, I fell in love. It's my new favorite show right now. It's so good.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad the second season.
Yeah.
I do got a new show that you might like.
Oh yeah.
I started watching Tracker.
Oh yeah, with the guy who played Arrow on Smallville.
Yes. Yeah. It's actually a pretty good show.
Lisa started. I said, don't. I want to watch it with you. Hold it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Good.
I like it. I like it so far.
There's that one, and there's the other one I wanted to try about the blind lady, the blind detective.
Oh.
Sight unseen.
Oh.
So she's clinically blind. She's not completely blind, but she's clinically blind, and she wears a headset that somebody at home through a laptop is hooked into the cameras on her headset and basically leads her around. 10 steps, turn left. Okay, and she's chasing a bad guy, and she can hardly see, but she's trusting the person on the cameras in her glasses.
Wow,
and you're like,
that's
wow.
crazy.
Like, that's brave. Yeah, so it looks interesting too. Sight unseen.
All right, sight unseen. Okay.
Cool.
All right, so thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks, Cyber Ren.
Anytime, bud.
Doing this. Yeah, we got some more that we're going to be doing. Of course, jump over to the Mandalore podcast starting this weekend as we deep dive into all the episodes of the Bad Batch during this final season.
Yep.
Thanks, of course, to all our patrons, and continue to join us on YouTube for all our other shows. Me and Hannah doing Inside the Force every week for you.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it, everybody. Cyber, appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much.
Yep. Take care, everybody.
Take care. We'll see you next time. May the Force be with you.